In a few hours, there's an ICO happening. It is Humidifi's ICO, and I'm going to give you all the details, the pros and the cons, and there are a lot of cons. There are some pros, and I'll tell you if I'm entering at the end, and we'll speed run this. So, WET is a token produced by Humidifi. It's on the DTF Jup Launchpad, and this is the first time the Launchpad will be used. The first batch goes out in about 2 hours, only for the wet list. I would kind of deem these to be insiders, but people that found the Discord, which I never found. Jup stakers then get to go, and then the public gets to go. And this is in my local time. We'll show you in your local time. And basically the target raise is here. And what's going to happen is you're paying this amount. This is a 50 million FTV, 50, and this is 69. Now, for the Jup stakers, and that's what the video is mostly for, because if you have wet lists, you'll know about it. If you don't have wet lists, you can check. But it's mostly for the Jup stakers that I'm kind of giving you information on. You need to have at least 1,000 Jup. So this tier system is a little bit strange to me, but that's what it is. 1,000 to 9,999. You get 200 USDC that you can put in to buy this token at potentially this very low valuation. And then you can see the other ones here. So 50,000, sorry, if you've got 50,000 or more, it's 2.5K. Otherwise, it's 500. There is, as you can see here, and this was changed by the way, there is $1.5 million that can be raised at this stage, but it was initially going to be like 4%, 2%, then 2%, and then they changed it, so it was like, it was going to be 6%, 2%, 2%, and then it changed to be 4%, 3%, and 3%. It's just, you can see the number of wet hair, and the amount is raised, because in the public raise, it's raised where anyone can enter, but at a higher price. Now I'm expecting bots to get this, to be perfectly honest, sniper bots, to potentially bid up all this with just a couple of bots. So try your best if you've got nothing that you can go for, but I think that will be the case. Also keep in mind this is a time that's for me, and 10 p.m. like 12 hours after this starts is when the public can get in, and then the next day on the 5th is when the token generation event actually happens. Now the tokenomics are horrendous, but I'm still going to go through them. You can read through them here as well, and I haven't even explained what Humidifi is. Humidifi is a prop AMM, so it's an automated market maker like Orca, Radium, and Meteora, but it's proprietary, and it means that market makers connected to the team, Humidifi, and they've deployed their capital with algorithms that we can't just go and jump in. We don't have a CLI, we don't have a UI, we can't play in their sandpit. And they're doing very, very well with the pairs that they actually support, like Sol USDC, Mon USDC as an example. Now what's crazy, we got a billion wet, expected December 5th for the token generation event. You've got this information here, which is slightly changed, is like the tokenomics, 10% for the ICO, and then the rest is essentially 90% for the team. Now, what this is all supposed to be about is just like transparency. And I'm not here to FUD things, but like there isn't any transparency when you've got 3 things like this, and the whole model of this DTF is like the wallets will be showing, they'll have the locks and lock.jup.ag, which is like a stream flow kind of competitor, and you'll be able to see the outflows and watch it. However, and you will be able to, maybe until turbine.cash, which is like a privacy protocol on Solana, give it a try. Maybe until they support, if there's enough demand, I'm sure they would, basically private wet. So you deposit your wet in, and then mixes up a little bit, and then you withdraw it to a fresh wallet. That could be what happened, could be what happens in the future, because the unlock schedule is very, very stiff. And I'm expecting something to happen, which would mean that they would be selling into buyer pressure. More on that in a moment. Now, how many people on the team? Unsure, but Ben, Temporal, and Kevin are the creators and operators of Humidifi. So the smart people for sure. Temporal does a whole lot of stuff related to like validators and just getting things to land and some very technical stuff. They've raised money from VCs and they've also seeded money in other areas. And their website it's not for the end user. They do technical stuff. And I'm pretty sure that their validator was initially helped to be seeded by the Jupiter Sol some time ago. Now Humidifi did a small amount of volume in June and then it just bounced up to the point where it just took over. And then we have like this June analytics. So the blue one here, this is Humidifi. So you can have a look. Last year it was radium, just market share radium, and then beginning of the year, radium. You can see Solflare, which is another prop AMM at 13%. The other interesting thing here is look at Lifinity down at 5.3% in the blue. That Lifinity used to be like a very dominant player. So 8.6, over here it was 9. It used to be very, very dominant, and they also a bit of a prop, like a community-owned prop AMM. They have not been able to perform very well, and they're losing fees and market share. Then we continue to come along, and then along comes Humidifi, and it just starts to just destroy, to where right now it's the top. Meteor is down there at number 4, and unfortunately Solflare has dropped all the way to the bottom. And where is Lifinity? I don't even know if it's on the map anymore. It's right down there at the bottom. And that is the nature of just competition, people that can execute on a more technical level. We can also see that the vast majority of their attention goes on this pair here, USDC and Rapsol. So if you're just going to go and swap useless for USDC, they're probably not going to be quoting that. They're quoting in a very specific way with an algorithm that is some advanced magic coolness. And they'll probably have a very low fee. That's why it'll be routed through this. And they'll change the pool's money so that's always kind of dynamic. And maybe they're hedging it in some way if it's like a whole lot of Sol. I'm not too sure. But either way, they get an insane amount of volume. Now, Kaito doesn't have them listed as an official project, even in like the premium enterprise edition. But there's been more and more talk on this. Humidifi. They didn't have a Twitter until recently. They didn't have a website until recently. And the wet token, I have a feeling like, you know, the Jupiter team or Cash may have had something to do with like the system, or they may have bought on someone branding to talk about it. But I deem wet as basically a bit of a glorified meme coin that could potentially evolve into something. And the token utility has a small amount of utility, and wet is not and should not be viewed as an investment. And more information on staking, utility, and roadmap to follow. Kind of interesting to come out with all this from the Jupiter perspective, that it comes out and like, and we'll tell you more in the future. It's kind of interesting, but probably going to do well. I'll tell you why in a second. Temple runs numerous validators across Solana, so it's not just one. And there is certainly some FUD, and there was a lot of FUD on it actually, because those tokenomics are horrendous. And Kimisabi makes a valid point. 90% controlled by the team. They're not on layer 1, they're not SUI or AVAX or new blockchain. And if this does poorly like it's designed to do, like it looks like it's designed to do, Jupiter's DTF Launchpad is dead on arrival. I don't think that's going to be the case, but I agree with his take. Like 90% is insane. Now I saw a lot of FUD, and what I would generally see is Ben reply saying, you didn't get allocation, so you're just going to FUD, which is maybe just a very technical person, which that doesn't know how to like have a debate on on Twitter, which is like most people. That's fine. It's just kind of unusual, but it is what it is. The making money aspect. Nothing's financial advice, of course. It's educational in nature, but Squid does pretty good write-ups, very good write-ups, and this is his personal research. This guy's a FUD, so he's into MedDAO. He works with Drift. I don't even know all the things he does, but he has these thesis kind of write-ups. He did one for 00. 00 didn't work the way he liked because it just pumped up really, really quickly. You can read this. All the links will be below. But basically, thesis is legit project, cheap price. And guessing around 15% unlocked on token generation event, then no unlock. Very cheap with an extreme low market cap. And he goes through a whole lot of things here. A couple of points I want to point out is supply control. They'll be controlling the supply, and my expectation is they'll be able to sell it into demand, and they will create that demand by being good at market making. Coinbase announcement. This will be listed on Coinbase, like add to the roadmap, so they'll go pretty quickly once second generation event happens. The whitelisting. This is how they probably gave the whitelist to partners as a reward, because you couldn't find these things naturally. So all these people will be partners, and they'll be getting a chance to jump in nice and early. So there is some sort of insider going on, in my opinion. And there's a ton of FUD because people are assuming the worst. And like to be fair, like 90% of the team, essentially 90% of the team, yeah, like that's understandable. It's interesting because this is how ICOs worked largely in 2017. Like, I don't know the exact tokenomics of Binance and whatnot, but Binance was one. Like Tron is a great example. Tron he made a whole lot of money off the ICO, and then like who uses Tron really other than just USDT transfers? He has a target valuation of 350 to 550 FDV, which is pretty sizable. I think this part is wrong though. Meteor did 40 million and is trading at 330. Pretty sure Meteor did closer to 90 million, so I think this part is wrong. And Meteor did a system where they put out 48% of the supply. If they dropped 20% of the supply, then the token would have been, and if they said like there's utility or ownership or something, bam, but they didn't. And I'm not expecting it to be that high, but I'm not expecting it to be 550, but I am potentially thinking of 5x. Before I even saw this write up, I was thinking a 5x, but I wouldn't necessarily sell it all, like wait for that, have it teared on the way. And he's got his plan down here, what he'll do at pre-sale, just max bid under 100, more USDC, and then price action under 200, 300, consolidation. He doesn't want just to buy the dips. It needs to be in that kind of consolidation period. So that's that. How am I playing it? Well, I'm doing this video now. I'm going to go to bed for a short amount of time, wake up, and try as fast as I can to get my ledger to go through all these different wallets to allocate that $500 tier, as I don't have 50,001 wallet. And then I'll try to go into public, but I'm pretty sure a couple of snipers will just snipe the heck out of that, and it'll be all over, ready over really, really fast. And then once it goes live, it's going to be live on Humidifi and on Meteor. They're going to have pools in on 2 different venues, and I'm going to be also putting USDC to buy any dips, and I'll be looking for the most aggressive pools instantly to try and get some fees, because I have a feeling that people will kind of ape into this. Eventually, they may not go into it immediately, but what Humidifi will probably potentially do is they'll just go and collect this $5 to $6 million, and then they will go and bid up their tokens. Jupiter could do the same thing. It has to be a success for Jupiter. So you're allowed to do this. You can go and buy whatever it is you want, but there will be a bit of a hype sensation. It'll be hyped. The chart will look aggressive. People will think, oh, well, what if I miss out? Like Zcash. So then they will enter in, and then as the volume is high, I would predict, they want to keep this as high for months and months and months and start to sell into that high. And if they announce a roadmap and staking and ownership and all that kind of stuff, I know they're about staking in a sense right now, or coming on launch pretty much, but maybe it does really, really well. But my plan will be bid, take some profits, and deal them in and get some fees, compound those fees, but also like try and take my initial, take some profits, but always kind of keeping some in. That's not financial advice, just what I'm doing. Let me know what you're doing. Keep in mind that I will update you but this is the way I think it's going to go. It could go completely different. I just don't expect it, because if it goes really, really bad, it's terrible for Humidifi. It's terrible for Jupiter, and I don't think they would let that happen. Thanks for watching. Catch you next one.